In this video, we're going to talk about the vertex and axis of symmetry of a parabola. When a parabola opens upward, its lowest point is called the vertex. So if you have a parabola that looks like this, okay, it opens upward, this bottom point down here, the lowest point on the whole graph, that's called the vertex. When a parabola opens downward, its highest point is called the vertex. So you could have a parabola that looks like this, the highest point, this is called the vertex. Okay, and the axis of symmetry of a parabola is the vertical line that goes through the vertex. So the axis of symmetry would be this vertical line, and over here would be this vertical line. It's called the axis of symmetry. And notice that the parabola is symmetric with respect to that axis. Okay, in other words, the two sides of the parabola are mirror images of each other across that line, that axis of symmetry. Okay, let's look at an example. Consider the function g of x equals 2 times the quantity x minus 3 squared plus 1. Show that g is a quadratic function. Now, to be a quadratic function, remember it has to be of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, and the way it's written, it doesn't look like it's in that form, but we can put it in that form by, first of all, writing out what x minus 3 squared means. Okay, it means x minus 3 times x minus 3. All right, and then if we FOIL this out, let's write what x minus 3 times x minus 3 is. X times x is x squared. If you multiply the two inside terms, you get a minus 3x, and the two outside terms, you get another minus 3x. That's minus 6x. And last of all, minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. Okay, now distribute the 2. We get 2x squared minus 12x plus 18, and then plus 1. And finally, combine our constant terms, 18 and 1, to give us 19. So notice g of x is equal to 2x squared minus 12x plus 19. So it is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. The a is 2, the b is negative 12, and the c is 19. Okay, in part B, show that the vertex of the graph of g of x equals 2 times x minus 3 squared plus 1 is 3 comma 1. Okay, well, what I would like to say is this is a parabola that's going to open upward, because notice that the coefficient of the x squared is positive, it's 2. It opens upward, so the vertex will be the lowest point on the graph. And I claim that the lowest point of the graph happens when x is 3. Now, how do I know that? Well, because this whole first term, 2 times x minus 3 squared, that's positive. Okay, that's non-negative. It can never be negative because we're squaring something and then multiplying it by 2. It can never be negative. So the smallest that g of x could be would be 1, and that will only happen if this first term is 0. And when will the first term be 0? It happens when x equals 3. Okay, so when x equals 3, g of x is the smallest. Okay, the smallest it can be, because the first term will be 0, and it can't be anything less than 0. And in fact, what is g of 3? Well, if you plug in g of 3, you'll see that it's 0 plus 1, which is 1. Okay, when x equals 3, g of x is the smallest, and g of 3 is equal to 1. So it is the vertex. The vertex happens at 3 comma 1. So let's sketch the graph of g of x equals 2 times x minus 3 squared plus 1. So if we go to the point 3 comma 1, that will be about right here somewhere. Okay, this would be 3. This would be 1. We know it's a parabola that opens upward because the coefficient, our a, ended up being 2, and so the graph, it's a positive number, it opens upward. And how will how wide will the graph be? Well, it'll be a little thinner than f of x equals x squared, because that coefficient is 2. Okay, remember, if you go up here and look at what was the a was 2. Okay, so I'm going to draw a parabola that has vertex 3 comma 1, and it's fairly thin parabola. Okay, so that's kind of a rough sketch of the graph of this. You could graph this on a graphing calculator, and you should see that the graph looks just like this. Okay, so as a fact, the graph of the quadratic function f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k is a parabola with vertex h comma k. It opens upward when a is greater than 0, when a is positive. and it opens downward when a is less than 0, or when a is negative. Okay, now notice this is not written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, but it can be written in that form. So that's why we know the graph is a parabola. So just like before, I did with our g that we had before, you could FOIL out x minus h squared, and then multiply it by a, then add k. Okay, now here the a, h, and k are constants, and the x is a variable. Okay, so there'll be numbers in for a, h, and k, but x is the variable. Okay, next example, determine algebraically whether the given parabola opens upward or downward and find its vertex. Well, notice here our a is negative, right? So a is less than 0, right? Minus 5 is less than 0, so it opens downward. Okay, it's a parabola that opens downward. And the vertex, notice, is h comma k. Well, what's h? H is 2, right? H comma k is going to be 2 comma 6. Okay, notice it's not negative 2, it's positive 2, because in this formula it has x minus h. And so the h is positive 2. So the vertex is going to be 2 comma 6, and it opens downward. Okay, in the next example, notice that we don't have a number out in front here. In fact, the number really is 1. And so our a is greater than 0. In fact, the a is 1. So 1 is greater than 0, so the graph opens upward. Right? In other words, there's no negative out in front here. And also the vertex will be, well, we have x plus 4, but you could think of this as being x minus a negative 4 squared minus 7. And in fact, you could think of it as a 1 out front. So the a is 1, the h is negative 4, and the k is negative 7. In fact, you could think of it as plus negative 7. So actually, h comma k is negative 4 comma negative 7. And so that is the vertex. Okay, notice it has x plus 4. The x coordinate of the vertex will be negative 4. And over here, whereas x minus 2, the x coordinate of the vertex is positive 2. In fact, if you're looking for the axis of symmetry, the axis of symmetry is the vertical line x equals 2. And the axis of symmetry over here is the vertical line x equals minus 4.